एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयम् लिख्यते कथम्। हृदय कुहर मध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहम् अहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवतु। देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः। ओहं भावयुत कुतो वरभिय दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्। सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्। Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to read 2 verses selected from Guru Vachaka Kovai. Each verse selected is read, then its meaning is meditated upon, and that meditation on the meaning is followed by the practice of Atma Vicharam for about 10 minutes. After these 2 segments of verse reading, short meditation on its meaning, and the practice of self-attention are completed, today there will be summing up remarks by Shri Venkatesh Deshpande ji, and that shall be followed by an offering of the chanting of Sri Ramanacentre. Our puja team is still away, so we will offer ourselves by doing self-enquiry. Who is listening who is the real listener of the Ramanastotram, put the attention on the listener and offer ourselves to the source. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we begin the satsang by taking up the first verse, 102, selected for us. 102 appears in the first segment of the 3-segment book. The first segment is investigation into truth. The second segment is meditation on the truth. And the concluding segment is Anubhava or experience of the truth. This verse 102 we find in investigation into the truth. The sub-segment is conceding creation. Conceding creation. Verse 102, there is a note by Muruganar Swamigal and there is a selection from Vichara Sangraham, one of the 3 prose works of Bhagavan. We first read the verse. The deeper intention of the scriptures in describing the sequence of creation in different ways is not to proclaim the correct theory of creation, but to promote enquiry into the supreme reality that is the primal source of creation. This is the real purport behind the Shastras, scriptures that describe the details of creation. The deeper intention of the scriptures in describing the sequence of creation in different ways is not to proclaim the correct theory of creation, but to promote enquiry into the supreme reality that is the primal source of creation. This is the real import or real purport behind the Shastras that describe the details of creation. There is a note by Muruganar Swamigal. Since the Jnana scriptures ultimately teach the doctrine of Ajata, the unborn, the consciousness that is not split as before birth and after birth. Since the Jnana scriptures ultimately teach the doctrine of Ajata to extremely mature aspirants, they are very much in harmony when it comes to teaching the truth. The Shastras describe lengthy sequences of creation in diverse ways, only to enable enquiry to arise in those who can know the truth by careful investigation. The word describing used in the first line actually means concocting. In Tamil, they say sledai. The same word may have 2 meanings. And the word which is used by Muruganar in Guruvachaka Kovai, it is said by the authors. The authors are real experts in translation. If you see Robert Butler, his translation of Ulladu Narpadu, very scholastic, absolute scholar in Tamil and English. So he is saying that the word used for describing actually means concocting. It's something made up. The whole theory of creation is made up by the Shastras, is the translator. The note from Vichara Sangraham. Question. This question is by Swami Natanananda. I am sorry, Vichara Sangraham is the self-enquiry, so it is by Gambiram Seshaya. If the entire universe is of the form of the mind, then does it not follow that universe is an illusion? If that be the case, why is the creation of the universe mentioned in the Vedas? Bhagavan, there is no doubt whatsoever that the universe is the merest illusion. The principal purport of the Vedas is to make known the true Brahman after showing the apparent universe to be false. It is for this purpose that the Vedas admit the creation of the world and not for any other reason. There is some gap and then continues. From the fact that creation has been described in different ways, it is clear that the purport of Vedas rests only in teaching the true nature of the Brahman after showing somehow or the other the illusory nature of the universe. That the world is illusory, everyone can directly know in the state of realization, which is in the form of experience of one's bliss nature. So, the Shastras and the Puranas also, if we include them, they describe creation in various sequences, says Muruganar. Describing creation in various sequences. The word describing means also concocting, says the translator. Only to create an interest, since we are outward turned and we are bothered about how this creation came about. We find, strangely or not so strangely, that many scientists have also found this. Those who have really taken their inquiry seriously, for instance, Galileo, one of the modern founders of modern science, he sets out to have a mechanical theory of creation, that he could have a model in which the entire creation is encompassed. Like today, they are not looking for a mechanical theory, but they are looking for formulae, some rules which are fundamental and which will cover the entire creation. That is what the modern scientists apparently look for. But even they have come upon the truth that the world, seen world, is a merest illusion. Galileo, who starts trying to describe the whole creation, ends up towards the end of his conclusion that not only can we have no mechanical theory about the whole creation, we cannot have a mechanical description of even the smallest of atoms. That is his conclusion towards the end of his life, says the modern historians who go into the life of Galileo. And he is not the only one. The Newton, who has devised the laws of motion, and the gravitational force that connect the planets and everything, he says all his formulae are nothing. They can describe nothing that is out there. But many of the following scientists have found those formulae useful. Useful in the sense that it connects one relative finding to another relative finding. So they glorify that. But Newton himself is supposed to have concluded that all his formulas, all his formulae do not describe anything, any reality. And it is not out there. The mysticism is far too much for some formula to cover it, is his finding. Many of the modern scientists, you will be interested to know, adopt the Socratean method. The Socratean method being that we can never know anything. That the ego, jiva, can never know the truth of any object. And of course, we have the double slit experiment, which says that in the smallest of states, whether a particle is a particle or a flow or a wave, we cannot tell, is the finding. That whether it has individuality or it has no individuality and is merely a flowing thing as part and parcel of a wholly interconnected work, we cannot say science. No, if that is the case of modern science, the Shastras are merely telling all those sequences only to create interest, because we are still interested in seeing how the creation is there, has come about. They tell that first the water came, then this avatara was there, that avatara was there, like that the sequence is mentioned only to create an interest. But the modern scientists and our own inquiry find that the world is of transitory nature, is of changing nature, and there is something in us which just brushes aside the changing nature and says this is I. The body is changing every moment. The air that we breathe in, it changes the contents of the body. The new oxygen comes in, new molecules go out, the molecules go out, they come in, the water we drink, the solid food we take. It has been scientifically found that 7% of the body weight is replaced in atoms every day. So, what is it that still identifies it as this is me? Not only in youth, in middle age and old age do we identify with the same changing body, but the consciousness has this strange ability that it can unify things or it can dismantle things at will. Somehow it seems to that is something that has perplexed all philosophers. So consciousness is of a totally different dimension to the material things. So slowly the attention is drawn away from the material things which are fleeting and changing, and one cannot define whether that is an energy or a particle. The attention is turned by Shastras from there to one's inner self. There too, the gap between the seer and the seen, it brings in a division in consciousness. So the teachers of the Brahman, the teachers of Brahma Vidya, the teachers of Atma Vidya teach that the God or the Supreme Being cannot be an Anya Vastu. You cannot be apart from the Supreme Being. So the Supreme Being has to be searched at the source of the I thought. The I thought which arises and say, yes, that is apart from me. The same I thought holds one thought in meditation and says that that is the Supreme Being apart from me. And finally realizes that if I am holding that, then that cannot be the Supreme Being. The Supreme Being must be the Adhara or the support which helps me to hold that. So then the source of the I is felt and the Brahman is reached, and there the Shastras are all unified, says Muruganar. In teaching the truth, they are all one and the same. In teaching creation, they have plenty of differences. So first ignore all that. It is only to set up the enquiry that those things are placatingly told. They have to be dropped at the first instance. You realize that there are no real answers in that changing area. What real answer can be there which is changing 7% every day? What answers can be there in that which is changing every nanosecond in thoughts which are rushing? So neither in thoughts, nor in emotions, nor in the sensory world does one seek the truth. The truth is the attention which imagines that there is truth in those areas, withdraws itself from those changing, transitory, illusory areas and fixes it on itself, because it is the one. The awareness, the consciousness, the I is the one which is present in all these changes. Who am I who is present in all these changes? Who am I who has falsely identified with this collection of atoms, with this collection of thoughts, and called this is Nandakumar and that is the rest of the world? Who is that? Who am I? That dismantles the aggregation and that dismantles the need to disaggregate, and consciousness is freed, and the self-attentive, self-luminous self shines all by itself. The whole mystery of creation stands unraveled. The creation is nothing in truth but self-attention. The Atmanishta is the world. The Atmanishta is the Ishvara. The Atmanishta is the Jiva. All the three get resolved into self-attention, which is naturally, effortlessly present when all the proclivities towards the illusion have been burned in Atma-vichara. So let us sit in Atma-vichara, that which burns the proclivities, which takes us towards the illusion and brings us back to the reality, the self. Let us sit for 10 minutes. Ujjwalji, you'll be able to help us out. Thank you.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Venkatesh ji, can you tell me the next verse that we have to go? 1000 and odd.
Yeah, 1 minute, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It is 1253.
1253. Thank you. We find this verse in the segment experience of the truth. This is the penultimate verse. The last but one verse. The last verse is 1254, which is the benediction. This is 1253, which is found in the subsegment. The state of equipoise. The state of equipoise. All the tapas performed gradually, all the tapas performed naturally by the godly and great sages who have been freed from seeking fulfillment through selfish desires will benefit all the people of this ancient world by bestowing all the desirable and auspicious blessings. Let us read the benediction also, having come this far. Benediction is long live Arunagiri, Arunachala, long live Ramana Guru, long live the devotees who live by the one unique word. Let this Paramartha Deepam, lamp of supreme truth, the beneficial garland, strung with the sayings of the Guru Murti, the form or manifestation of the Guru, prove fruitful and live forever. All the tapas, which is going to live forever, performed naturally by the godly and great sages who have been freed from seeking fulfillment through selfish desires, will benefit all the people of this ancient world by bestowing all the desirable and auspicious blessings. Now, it is said by Swami Vivekananda that a sage sitting in the cave through his tapas can help the whole creation. It is said that the rishis have contained all the 7 oceans in their kamandal. It is said that the ocean enters the droplet in the case of the sage. All these indicate that the sage is no more an individual. He is no more a selfish individual trapped in a conditioned body, whether gross, subtle or causal. Therefore, the very existence of such a one, the inquiry whether there is God or not, is fulfilled in the very existence of Bhagavan. That a Brahmavid Varishta could remain in a form for 50 years and guide indicates that there is this Ishvara Shakti you can worship. So the whole path of bhakti is blessed by the sage. That he cooked for us, for those people who would come, get up in the morning and cook, cut the vegetables, grind the chutney, grind for the idli, till the hand becomes blistered. That validates the karma marga. The marga where the karma phala is not sought. Somebody asks Bhagavan, what is nishkamya karma? It is also mauna. When everything is Brahman, nishkamya karma is also the abidance in the source. But over the next few hours, they must have been in Virupaksha cave in those days. The whole party live up the hill, and Bhagavan picks up a very thorny stick with lot of protuberances, takes a very rough leaf that has fallen on the ground and removes all the rough edges and starts polishing the stick. This work goes on for 6 hours. By the time they get back, it is getting towards twilight, and a cow herd who has gone for grazing, that boy is also following the cows, but he is having no sticks to guide the cows. Bhagavan simply throws the 6 hours work to him, and the boy goes away happily. And Ramanacentre, I think, is the one who observes this, writes that it was a practical demonstration of Karma Yoga. That not only the phala, but the karma itself is offered to the source. So the jnani, very presence is the validation of all other paths. And in words that cannot describe, the very understanding that the jnani's blessings cannot be captured in words. He transcends all the lokas. The Atmanishta has no loka, has no place to reside in. The jnani has no place to reside in, because all place and time resides in it. All the individual beings reside in the jnani. The oneness of the jnani itself is the oneness of the universe, and the integrity comes automatically. The integrity in the jnani, the unification in the jnani, unifies the world much better than any outward activity of unification of groups. Take up groups and unify them by removing small differences. But the jnani, going to that consciousness which is without division, brings in that energy of unity in far more greater strength than any other tapas can. When Ganapati Muni asks, should I use some tapasvic mantras for the liberation of India in addition to Atmavachara? In addition to Atmavachara, should I not spend some time? He already had a team meditating on the liberation of India. Bhagavan says that the Ishvara is the sole successful being, sole successful doer, and nobody can defeat him. At the right time, he will liberate India, and the source of Ishvara is the self. The Ishvara's Atma is the Atma which I am asking you to hold. So you hold Atma Vichara. That itself is the fulfillment of all other unifications, all other freedoms. This is the freedom of all freedoms. Everybody is free. The conqueror, the conquered, everyone is free in the self. Does it not make sense to hold that energy? When someone asks, is your tapasvic energy not available to us in our freedom struggle? Of course it is. Those who have come and met Bhagavan are more in number. The liberators are more in number than the conquerors. But Bhagavan says, of course it is there, but it is not partial. It is not available to you alone. It is available to whoever seeks it. So therefore, seek it. Seek the source, and that is enough. The tapas of the rishis, it unifies the whole creation. It unifies everyone and blesses them. We see some temporary difficulty somebody is in. Some child doesn't speak, and you are totally occupied with that. Now, what is the energy one has when one has surrendered everything to that? Now, what happens when it starts speaking? Is all the problem solved? In many senses, the problem starts. Now, is it not important to bring that energy which has unified the whole creation. Should you be worried about yourself and your family and your team and what not? Does it not make sense to go to the source of all? That is what Bhagavan is saying in this verse. Do that tapas. Let us not merely glorify the ones who have brought this kind of blessing to all. Let us be that. Let us be like that. As Tirnai Swamigal says, Tirnai Swamigal was a professor, chemistry professor in those days, who was bypassed in a promotion and opportunity to go to US. He was denied, and in that frustration, he comes to Bhagavan. How can I be bypassed? Such an eligible person I am. All the efforts I have put have been thrown to the dustbin. And he comes to Bhagavan and he sincerely seeks the truth. Few days into his stay, his Amma is also there. His Amma asks in the evening, did you have darshan of Bhagavan? And Tirnai Swami says, oh Amma, we have not come here merely for darshan of Bhagavan. Bhagavan wants us to be like him. Bhagavan doesn't want us to be merely glorifiers of the self. Bhagavan wants us to be the self. So that is what he is. And he is given the Upadesha when an opportunity from Japan comes for professorship. He asks Bhagavan, should I go? Bhagavan says, Iru, be. And that arrested his ego and took it to the source. And except for Girivalams, no other activity was seen from that one. Remained in one Tirnai and yes, ever absorbed in Bhagavan and blessed the blessing that is mentioned in the verse to everyone. That's what Bhagavan asks us to be like that in the self, abide in the self, not merely glorify the sages, be one. But the practice we have to do, you cannot just see somebody sitting on the elephant as a king and immediately think that you yourself will become that. Effort is necessary, says Bhagavan. And Atmavichara is the effort that is given. Let us sit in Atmavichara for the next 10 minutes. Ujjwalji will trouble you again.
No trouble.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. I request Venkatesh ji to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo Ramana. So we have come to a very interesting part of Guru Vacha Kovai, where they say, so let's ask ourselves this simple question: why have we come to this satsang? We've all come we've got a satsang time, and we've all come to the satsang. Why did we come to the satsang? Let's try and understand. Many of us have already got white hair on our head, right? So there must be smart people to be able to come to our satsang. Important thing is, they say, hey, there is some person called Bhagwan who teaches, says Brahman Satyam Jagat Mitya. He says that there is Brahman, which is Satya, and Jagat is Mitya. That's one. Number two, all the great ones say that purpose of human life. What's the purpose of human life? Purpose of human life is to understand who you really are. So then what happens? Bhagwan, when he made human beings, he put little rajas into each one of us. So because of the rajas, we started loitering through our senses, started loitering around in this world. And then what happened? We got beaten up very badly. It's like that man who goes under the sun, hot sun. Then he wants to come under the shade. So all our situation is exactly the same thing. We have got beaten up by the world. We have seen enough of the world. We have gone to various places. We have read enough of books and heard a lot of talks. Spiritual tourism we have done. We have gone here, there, everywhere. Finally, we say, oh, Brahman is Satyam. I am Brahman. Somebody is saying, oh, you are that. Tattvamasi, you are that. Oh, I've forgotten who I am. Oh, then who's going to teach me who I am? Then comes along Bhagwan. And then you say, how do I get to Bhagwan? Okay, through the satsang. We will attend this satsang by which we will get to know who we really are. So, Bhagwan, what does he say? He says, Sumaira. Now you look at the young people. Very few young people in this satsang. Probably Ujjwal or some people are probably the youngest in this satsang, right? Now, why are the young people not here? Because they still do not know Jagat is Mithya, that the world is an illusion. They have to go into the world, experience the world, and then get bitten here, get bitten there, and then realize, oh, none of this is really giving me happiness. I have to go to the Ramana Satsang. When I come to the Ramana Satsang, what will happen? Somebody will say, do self-enquiry. Then what happens is, it's like that 10 people who crossed that river and they reached on the other side, and 9 of them, they were counting. And then finally, somebody from outside came and said, hey, you fool, you've forgotten to count yourself. You do not know who you are, and you think all you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but you've forgotten yourself. So this whole thing, this whole game is for what? Is to realize who you really are. So we have forgotten. See, basically, it is what? We have forgotten who we are. Hridaya kohara madhe kevalam brahma matam. If you don't think of anything else in the world, if you don't read any shastra, you don't read Bhagavad Gita, don't read anything, just focus on this. Hridaya kohara madhe kevalam brahma matram. In the cave of your heart, Bhagwan is there. Simple. If Bhagwan is there in the cave of heart, which side will you look? You look in the direction the God is. Simple. So why don't we do that? So the important thing that we have done, we have to get beaten up in the world, and then somebody comes and tells you, hey, you are always that. Jivo Brahmaiva Napara, you are nothing but the self, but we have forgotten who we are, and we like this word which Prasad always teases me about, Suttarivo, we like this roaming around. Oh, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Everybody says, oh, Venkatesh, fantastic. You went here, went there, everywhere, wonderful. But what happened at the end? Were you at peace with yourself? Were you, how much of time you spent with the living God? How much, how long time you did self-enquiry? Very little. So then that doesn't make sense. So it's important that we understand this illusion of this world. And the quicker we understand the illusion of the world, the better it is in our sadhana, so that we are not loitering around in all this. The second verse is even very, very powerful. The point really is that look at the samadhi in Tiruvannamalai. Why do we go to the samadhi in Tiruvannamalai? Bhagavan is not there. He is not in the body. He is not there. Why do we go and keep on doing pradakshina of the samadhi? Because Bhagavan is not that body. He is that Satchidananda Atman. He is that all-pervading. What's the nature of this Atman? It is everywhere, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. It means there's no place in the universe where God is not there. God is there everywhere. It is important that only how much, whether your cup is upside down or facing upwards, that the grace is constant for everybody. So that's very important. And if you see why some people just Bhagwan was sitting quiet when he was in the body, they came, they had so many questions. They came and sat down. All the questions got answered. How did the questions get answered? Because the underlying principle of all the beings is the self. So when a great soul like Bhagwan is there, all the questions get automatically answered. Because why? The questions are about what? The questions are about the world, illusory world. It's not about the self. This is a very important thing we need to understand. All the questions, if you have any questions in your mind, why this, why not this, it is all about the prapancha. It is not about the self. Once you are to know the self, you have to be the self. Once you are the self, everything is only the self. There's nothing else but that Satchidananda Atman, the consciousness. To understand that, you have to do sadhana, you have to detach from the world, you have to become desireless, you have to go within and attach to that God. God is, the gurus are pushing you from outside and pulling you inside. Come within, Venkatesh, I'm here. Only thing is, we should listen to him. The more and more we listen to him, then we'll feel his presence everywhere, to the left, to the right, top, down, everywhere is God, is Bhagwan. There is no place where Bhagwan is not there. Its only thing is, it's a demand and supply. The more demand is there, supply will automatically be there, and you will experience the presence of God everywhere. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. May I request Vaibhavji and Prarthnama to chant the Ashtotram. We will all sit in Atmacharam as to who is listening.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितम् श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्विमात्रम् भुवनम् समस्तम् गुहाहितम् तम् रमणम् गभीरम् चिन्ताविहीनम् हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्ड संविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शौर्णशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निवाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलऋद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिरसानिध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्तानुवर्णाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत देव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीर नित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासेकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Thank you, Vaibhav ji and Ratnama. Thank you, Venkatesh ji. Thank you, Ujjwal ji.